Test, audio test. stupid thing. Ugh. Ooh, alright. G'day, ratbags. What's happening? Okay. Alright, so we have the obligatory chair squeaking, and my footrest tonight is my skateboard, so who knows, that's probably going to be a bit noisy too, because I had to use my footrest to keep my the tarp that holds the door to my outside room from blowing away. So, you know, that's tough when you're a povo. Anyway, tonight we're not talking about the povos. Tonight we're talking about rich people. Ooh. Some rather rich people indeed. Well, actually, one of them is rather a lot less rich, or will be in the near future. And that, of course, being the right and dishonourable convicted intimate partner of user Ms. Amber Heard. Discussed it all last week. Okay. So many. This is such an interesting. Let me just quickly do the audio check. Yep, we're good. Okay. This has just brought up so many different strands of like pertinent and interesting and necessary discussion points. They're namely, I guess the main one is that from an observer's point of view. Is that we're opening up and hopefully moving on from, but we're starting to kind of recognise our bias towards towards women in domestic violence scenarios. And so one of the things that I think that this is all highlighting is that back in the day when the first laws were starting to be put into place to protect women, married women in particular, I guess, women in relationships, from generally physical violence, that all came about because it became recognised that there was a significant social issue that was not being addressed in our society. And so we put laws into place based as a response to that. I mean, that's how we make laws, And but that is a good, those were happening pretty much before I was born, and I'm about to be 50 years old. So when you think about it in those terms, we're looking at almost half a century ago. And I think it's pretty obvious that society has changed. Societies being dynamic as they are, has changed a lot since then, and sometimes it as is the case sometimes, it becomes known how to take advantage and play the system somewhat in a way that the laws that were originally written and put in place to solve an issue or to address an issue are now no longer doing their job as well as they should be. And there's been a growing awareness that intimate partner violence towards men, and I'm just as a disclaimer, I'm going to very loosely just use the binary of men and women for a little bit, okay? So don't get too hung up about it. I'm just doing it I'm kind of just doing it just for the convenience of being able to discuss it with ease, okay? So I'm not trying to exclude anyone. Just trying to keep the topic, the priority, as the priority. You know what I mean? Trying to keep the topic of conversation on the actual topic. So, anyway, there has been a growing awareness that intimate partner violence is increasing, is very, very underreported on the side of men. Now, I guess we can go in, if you wanted to break it down or whatever, we could, you could go into, excuse me, women on women relationship violence, men on men relationship violence, but I think at the moment it's best to keep the conversation as kind of general and overall and all-encompassing as possible, because the issue is are not the individual sectors. The issue is, all-encompassing in itself. Yeah, so sorry, that's getting a little bit untidy. I'm not expressing myself very well. But to me, that is one of the biggest, most significant outcomes of the wide international publicisation of this Depp v. Heard trial, but at the same time there are probably at least 10 or 12 other issues that have led me off, into strands of thinking and looking things up and wondering about certain things and seeing connections. Yeah, I do think on, not just on a pop culture level, but on a modern kind of society level. I don't want to say the whole world, because that's probably a little bit presumptive, but what would you say? Not the whole Western world, not the whole developed world. I don't know, the whole internet world. I don't know. But this trial has had an almost global impact, and that is, those kinds of things don't come around all that often. It's hard to catch our collective attention. So I want us to pull it apart over time. I want us to draw out all the lessons that we're having this. There was some curtains pulling back, which is what some of the videos we're going to look at tonight. It was just Anyway, I'm interested to hear what other people have got to say as well. I know that a lot of it, the narrative at the moment, is kind of about the media and its representation and how it's scrambling. There was actually really nasty article today, I think it was today, I guess yesterday, in American, in the Northern Hemisphere, kind of really scathing article towards content creators by the legacy media, And and that's another really major issue that's been brought up, is just how intent the legacy media are on misdirecting the public away from the actual truthful narrative. And that number one, I don't think that's come as a shock to a lot of people. It probably has to some, but just actually seeing the disparity between what you've been able to witness with your own eyes and then the story that you are reading, like, some rag like Insider or blah blah blah, and just how kind of desperate they're starting to look at, in terms of being so obvious in their narrative pushing, and starting to look for targets and this and that, accusing independent creators, accusing just YouTube users like me and you of, just being out for the money and, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you are the corporate media, Anyway, that's another whole thing. I wanted to do a separate stream on that and read that article, but I want to react to this video first because it's a little bit sideways to what's been going on, but it pulls in a few different threads that I've been kind of individually interested in lately. So, but we're going to do a lead up to that first. I was going to do the trial explained in less than 10 minutes, but I don't think we need to do that because I think we'd be bashed over the head with, the whole how the trial went and, the highlights and all that kind of thing. But one of the interesting things is, excuse me, I'll just cue this up while we are talking. One of the interesting things is that AH's lawyer, Ms. Elaine What's-a-Face, sorry I can't remember the last name, has started, pretty much immediately after the verdict, started doing the rounds of all the talk shows and breakfast shows and blah, 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 spouting this utter, like, just... Anyway, you'll see what the BS anyway, and it's kind of really interesting because I was really feeling for that lawyer, or all of AH's lawyers, imagine having such a difficult client, and thinking that they're doing, doing it tough, and I was really kind of feeling a lot of sympathy for them. But after watching Ms. Elaine in action in these, I'm like, oh my goodness, are you going to be buying a massive multi-million-dollar estate and retiring soon? Because this is some kind of rhetoric you are spewing. She's basically throwing everybody under the bus. She's saying that the jurors cheated. Essentially, she's saying the jurors cheated. She's not openly coming out and saying that, but basically that everyone's fallen under the spell of Johnny Depp, and no one's got their own brains, and just. Anyway, we'll check it out. Let's check it out. Let me swap to the React screen. So this is from a channel called Popcorn Planet. They've been doing really great coverage. I do believe this is the channel. One of the main gentlemen in this channel has talked about he was previously a victim to DV, and he, kind of brings it up that's why he had a bit of a personal connection to this. But their coverage has been really good in terms of very newsworthy. They're not kind of like me, just one stupid person giving their opinion in their flat. These guys make a really concerted attempt to be verifiable very high quality sources of independent news and current affairs, and I've grown to respect their channel a little bit over the last, since I discovered them maybe this year, 6 months-ish. So anyway, this is the link to this video is in the description box, but this this is a little taste of Elaine. Oh, and the interesting thing about that, I think, owing to largely to some of the backlash that she's gotten from starting, getting on all these shows, like straight after it, she's actually cancelled the big one, the big court TV interview that she had booked, and she's backed out of that now because she has been just getting rightfully just roasted 7 ways from Sunday for the attitude we're about to see. Okay, let's have a look. So we're just trying to get the audio a bit better.
Focus on this today's show interview. Guys, get ready, sit back, get the mega pint. This one is brutal.
Mega pint. You really think that's one of the first things that came out of that woman's mouth? And sorry to interject so quickly, but I vehemently disagree that this is a setback for all women. That's just a disgusting thing to say, and a really sexist thing to say, quite honestly. And it's in very bad faith, because to me, this verdict was a win for all abused, people, all victims of DV, and people who have had spurious and reputation damaging lies and horrid things told about them, so that if we can't agree that stuff goes beyond the sexes and really is a human thing, these rules must apply to each and every one of us. We can't force each other to treat each other with respect, but we can legislate that there is a firm line that none of us may cross with another human being, particularly the human beings that we take as our intimate partners, because in our society we do deem that relationship to be sacred, for whatever that term might mean, or be worth, and whether that is the heterosexual union, or any other kind, that is the union that our society does hold to be one of prime significance. And so we damn well should be legislating that, to ensure that level is upheld, at least in our laws. No, she doesn't.
Not you are the setback, that you lied! No woman is feeling like you're lost is a setback. The fact that you were here lying in the first place was a setback.
What is it with all these guy streamers? Like, they've all got the same kinds of beards, they've all got round faces, lots of them wear the baseball caps, and they all scream in that gravelly voice into the microphone. He doesn't always scream, but yeah, he gets pretty riled up because this is despicable. What this, like, you know, I really, what, you know, I had sympathy for this woman. I really did. But I mean, you know, this is a perfect place to pause her. You can kind of see a bit of her character on her face a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, she's a little mealy mouth. Just, she's a little dehydrated too. She needs to, like, you know, drink some water and get some rest. She's probably tired after a long 6 weeks. It's probably even more than 6 weeks because you got to prepare. No, it's not. This is to conflate. This is something that's pissing me off. To conflate the UK. We're going to have a look at something that is from that trial after this, but to conflate the two as if they were like, you know, two sides of a suit, you know, or two legs of a pair of pants. They're two completely very different trials. For one of them, a publication was being sued, not a person. And Amber Heard didn't have anything to do with that trial. She wasn't a defendant or anything like that. To conflate the two trials, I think, is really disingenuous. Even though they are connected in terms of, you know, one of them has led, you know, into the other. But they are not comparable. That's really, really, really a stupid thing to say.
Johnny Depp brought a suit in the UK for the same case, and the verdict.
Absolutely not the same case. Completely different case.
Proof was easier for him there. The son had to actually prove that it was true, and the court found there, and we weren't allowed to have jury.
She's, from what I can gather, this was kind of, it took a little bit to work this out, but from what I gather, she's kind of misrepresenting that a little bit. Like I said, two different trials, not comparable.
The court found that Mr. Depp had committed at least 12 acts, including against Amber. So what did Depp learn from this? Demonize Amber and suppress the evidence.
Because they're such a talentless legal team that they would have to use such an absolutely stupid tactic. No, the fact is that those two things were not comparable. It couldn't be used. There were things that the other side were not allowed to use either. Like they weren't allowed to. They weren't allowed to use the arrest for DV with AH's girlfriend a couple of years ago, whenever it was, however many years ago. Like the you know, like, sorry, I'm trying to say too many different things at once, and I'm gonna make things messy. There are elements in the UK trial that are, you know, speculatively. There are, what is the word when? What is it? The term when you have connections or vested interests with some of the people, you know, there's, oh god, it's just gone out of my head. You know, when you can't, like, say a lawyer can't represent this person because they are related to them or something like that, you know, blah 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 blah. There was can't remember the term. Anyway, that's coming up in the video. Sorry, let's get back to stupid Elaine. Both sides would have had that. That's normal for any court because they don't want anything that will prejudice the jury. You know, like, oh look, they did it before, they must do it. You know what I mean? They must allocate guilt or not guilt based on that evidence in that case and that case only. So they will not let any past stuff come in for the most part, and this applies in Australian courts as well, because it has so much potential to prejudice the jury one way or the other. Amber did not win. That is an absolute untruth. Amber was not the defendant or prosecutor, or I don't know the terminology. She was not in the case. It was Depp versus the Sun. Amber was a witness or something like that, or she gave testimony. That is all. So what Elaine has said here is just out and out BS. BS. Amber won. Amber did not win. Amber was not the person on the ticket. Johnny lost that trial again. The court found in favour for the Sun, and we're going to find out possibly, not necessarily the reasons why, but we're going to find out some of the reasons that the judge may have been prejudiced or biased beyond the scope of his blah 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 blah. Anyway,
Substantially true. And it wasn't the case. It was against the Sun. But thanks for admitting finally that yes, Amber was in cahoots with the Sun. Clearly, I have so much more to say. We'll talk about it in our lives. But it's so infuriating. One corrupt UK judge who had, I think it's his son, worked for Murdoch. There's so much corruption behind that case. One judge who ignored all of Johnny's evidence, declared this. So therefore, she went to bias the jury and said, well, here you lost this case against the magazine for something completely different. Oliver, let's talk about this.
no, he did not lose his case. Different case, which obviously I'm agreeing with this guy.
Insane.
And this reporter's a ning nong as well. The jury did not reject it. That's it's misrepresenting again, and it's belittling the jury, like, you know, that they were too stupid to be able to take their responsibilities seriously. Most people who bother to turn up for jury duty take it seriously, and you are trained through, I guess trained is the wrong word, but you are taken very carefully through the process. You're not allowed to just, you know, make it up for yourself, or you're not allowed to define things for yourself, like, you're kept on track. It's I don't know whether it's an honour, but it's a serious responsibility, and it's part of participating in a free society. You know, it's anyway, I don't want to go on about it. Which that becomes irrelevant when twice AH herself outright states that it was written about him. No, they didn't. The case was not about is he a domestic blah 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 blah. The case was that Amber had defamed Johnny Depp, caused him loss of reputation, financial as well, by writing and publishing that blah blah blah. So once again, Elaine is completely misrepresenting what the whole thing was about in the first place.
That's not proof. That's not proof. That's a liar telling someone something. Again, notice how the medical records are her therapist who's being told something by her client. No proof.
Oh yeah, that's right. The medical records are like second-hand hearsay information. Like oh goodness me, they're weak. Okay, they're weak.
Where's Amber's text, Elaine? Oh, interesting. Oh, man, it's been all of Johnny's texts. Where are Amber's texts? You didn't get to plow through Amber's texts. You plowed through Johnny's texts and found nothing.
I've got nothing to add to that. What? They were presented with some fairly irrefutable evidence. Like, for a lawyer to be misrepresenting, like, lawyers are all about details, okay? Details upon details upon details. And for Ms. Lane to be just misrepresenting this so wildly, it's kind of making my brain, like, twist a little bit. Anyway, get on. It caused the jury to be confused because the jury are just like such simpletons who are just so easily confounded. They haven't got a double-digit IQ between them. It's so offensive. There are no damages. Okay, we'll use the shitty legacy media, but straight up that, you know, old mate dropped from blah blah because of blah blah. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. That's part of the reason why it's, you know, kind of being touted as such a phenomenon, is because this is just never really happened before in this kind of way. We had, you know, the O.J. Simpson trial kind of gripped this, I guess, a smaller amount, a nation, I guess, you know, with a similar fervour, but you know, this to have, like, yeah, this seems to have a uniqueness about it. You know what I mean? People were invested in this because it feels important, unlike a lot of other. It's not just two rich people suing each other in court. You know, there's some kind of like upswell underneath it that you know, like an unexpressed frickin' sigh that hasn't come out yet, that, you know, that this is bringing out. I don't know how to explain it, but it just seems so much more than just, yeah, rich people suing each other. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That basically that's just dissing Elaine and her lawyers team. It was so lopsided. Yeah, you were outclassed. Like, what do you mean lopsided? It's a fair fight. That's what the courts are. You know, there's two supposedly evenly matched teams going up against each other, presenting their cases as best they can with the best evidence that they've got, and a jury of our peers taking it seriously enough to comb through it all very carefully, keeping to very, very strict parameters. There's no speculating in the jury panel, you know. It's like, oh goodness, it's just retarded.
And her team was suppressing? You mean that's the matter? And the fact that we were actually helping to get the truth to the light? You mean that? Oh, I can't stand how she's playing the victim here. Oh, social media needs me. Because you're the one who did it. You keep saying it's Johnny, but we have you on tape. Why is
I'm gonna speed this up. Yeah, she's being pathetic. Considering that the legacy media for the most part was on Amber's side, number one, once again, I think for the most part, most of those jurors would have taken their responsibility seriously. They too have a spotlight on them. They are on the jury of an incredibly high-profile case. Do you think they are going to mess it up for themselves? Do you think they're going to draw that kind of negative attention? Do you think they're going to blow their chance of being involved? It's just... once again, she's just belittling them once again. It's just disgusting. Yeah, okay, and so once again, also, what I was also going to say is the legacy media was for Amber, pretty much across the board, for most of it, in almost direct opposition to the the independent social media swell of opinion. So, you know, if it was so lopsided, why didn't Amber win? Because it wasn't lopsided against frickin' her. It was lopsided for her, if anything. So even if those jurors had have been so slack and not given a fuck about due process, the highest bloody piece of, you know, theoretically the highest bit of justice in the land. Like, oh, it's so insulting. No, it wasn't. Like, what, like normal media storm? Like anything with celebrities? No, I never thought about this before. I changed my mind. I used to, you know, because in Australia, the federal courts don't have cameras, you gotta have the artists and stuff, and I've always been very, very pro that, you know, because I thought the cameras would be distracting and stuff. But a little bit older now, a little bit wiser, and I really believe in the need for transparency with all of our institutions, like radical transparency. And the court process or the justice process is definitely one of those areas. And I'm not saying let the media in or, you know, da-da-da-da-da, but to have it streamed, you know, why not? Why not have our justice system an open book? Why not? You know, surely that would make us more engaged with it. As you can see, it does. It would make us respect it more. It would make us... Excuse me, hopefully this didn't sound. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry guys, I have to do a sound check again. I just bumped the cable. Oh goody. Okay, cool. Thank you. Oh, I don't know why it's so hissy though. It's annoying. Oh, that's... Oh. I'll get it right one day. Sorry, I don't know what I was talking about. Yeah, anyway, this one was shit. Hurry up, Elaine, get on with it. It's me, I've been talking too much. He had his shot. Completely different case, Elaine. On both sides. On both sides. Like, the other side were not allowed to show that AH had multiple times where there was evidence of multiple times of her abusing or hitting or otherwise damaging another human being, her or her partner, to the point of police reports. Those were not allowed in as evidence. No, it's not. No, it's not, because that is not the message it sent. It doesn't matter how many times you say it, it will not make it true. You want to know the message it sent? Listen. You will hear. You don't tell people what the message they're picking up. People pick up the message and then they reiterate it back through their means, through their conversations, through their social media, through, articles, through whatever. Spin doctors, and a bad one at that. Not even a good one. She's so unconvincing. No, it's not. No, it's not. She's no. She's a terrible liar. I'm sorry, but that was just, like I said, I was sympathetic to her at the end. I thought, that the whole team, her AH's whole team, I was like, wow, tough gig, man. Having to defend, someone and getting such egg on your face, like, because of such a shitty client, Anyway, I didn't mean to spend so much time on that. We're going to move right on, because obviously no one cares about this, and we're going to move to this video. Now, this one...
Discussion of the investigation that...
Oh, okay. It's my fan that's picking up. Oh, it's so hot. That's annoying. Now, this video is called Elon Musk Exposed, Ties to UK Judge and Why Johnny Depp Lost the First Libel Trial. Now this person, I think this channel, she's also got one that is about, that continues on and then is about the current trial. So I'm sorry guys, the audio, I'm really struggling to work out how to get a clean channel out of the audio here to so it doesn't have the machine noises and stuff like that. But at the moment all I've got is it coming out of the computer speakers and then having to be picked up by this microphone, and so it's, you know, a little noisy. And also for some reason my computer thinks it's warm and the fan keeps on, and I am actually warm. I don't know why it's so warm in here. The heater's not on. Alright, just give me 1 second. Alright, that'll cool it down in like 2 seconds and then I'll be freezing again. But anyway, yeah, so this is a channel called The Real Truth. Now, the reason I'm using this is because she uses these clips from another channel called Averagely something, I think. What are they? Incredibly Average, yeah, and they've done heaps of videos over the last few years about the trial, and actually if you go back and look at some of their earlier stuff, he basically is like a prophet. He pegs it all straight up, and you go back and listen to it now and you're like, wow, he could be you know, he could be recapping what's just happened, but it's actually 2 years or more old. Anyway, so yeah, this woman has kind of just gone down the rabbit hole, found a whole bunch of interesting connections. I have no idea whether they're true. I haven't watched all of this video, so I don't know exactly what she's saying. But I just thought it might be interesting to, I don't know, speculate along with her. See how much merit any of some of these theories have got. Some of them, you know, some of them have got evidence to back them up. Although I don't know whether that means that the conclusions that anyone comes to are correct. You know what I mean? So I am not saying that any of this is what it is actually happening, because I am just a little ning-nong in a flat in a country down the bottom of the world, looking at the joint through the eye of my computer, and I know nothing. I just find things interesting and things that spark conversations that I think are worth having. I just don't have a lot of people to have them with, so this is, I guess, my attempt slash what is the word, not excuse, substitute for actually having people to talk to about stuff that I want to talk about. Anyway, so this is it. This is her, and let's go. Sorry. Oh yeah, her bleep out audio is really high. She hasn't adjusted it. I'm sorry about that.
But the Murdochs also serve as on the board of directors of Tesla, which is Elon Musk's infamous company.
So Rupert Murdoch's son serves on the board I can't remember what position. So
That's not it. The tides go so deeper. So let's get to it. In the summer of 2016, while Amber was publicly admitting to Joy Johnny with her allegations of abuse, was texting back and forth with a close friend coming up. In one text was not read aloud, in which Johnny refers to Elon Musk in his smallest details to Reno. She is begging for global humiliation. She's going to get it. She sucked Mollis for the dick. He gave her some shitty oil. This seems to be the Johnny is thinking. Elon was backing Amber during the divorce and Amber's initial allegations. The statement from Adam Baldwin, an attorney for Johnny, was still doing just that. He stated that the son didn't even realize how much profound her the text they chose to be allowed to contain. Johnny was speculating that Elon was usually helping Amber with her abuse, adding that the Murdochs own the Sun newspaper, and the Murdoch serves on Elon Musk's Tesla board of directors. I decided to look into that. It made much looking to make connection. James Murdoch, son of Rupert Murdoch, belongs to.
So, just to recap that, what I guess that allegation is that Elon Musk is assisting, or was assisting, Amber Heard in her allegedly long-term campaign to ruin Johnny Depp. Listen to that again. And Johnny thought it. And also who, he has openly, some correspondence or something, stated that he was in love with, although there is evidence to state that, or to show that she did not reciprocate those feelings, and that she was rather more mercenary about her and Mr. Musk's friendship. These videos made by this incredibly average channel, which is what this clip's from, there's so much footage I'd never seen, so many clips I'd never seen, or I mean, granted, I didn't really keep up with the Johnny Depp son thingo, whatever, however many years ago.
Lovers stumble close together. Not sure when this is from exactly, but it does add validity to the testimony given by the building staff that Musk was a frequent visitor, as this is the elevator that goes to Johnny and only to Johnny's house. They certainly seem comfortable. So was there a conflict of interest when Johnny Depp attempted to sue some tabloid in the UK?
So that's and then there's apparently the connection, the judge or something, because it only went in front of one judge and not in front of a jury. So the judge was somehow connected also with somebody. But yeah, so I'll let her explain it because I still don't quite get it.
Absolutely, there is no question about it. At this point, with all the information we have, it's not an allegation, it seems to be a provable fact. So, first of all, speaking of facts, let's go back to the fact of the date that Amber Heard claims that she met Elon Musk. So, in her newest testimony, spectacle, scene, she did her attempt to act, because she is a terrible actress. She claims that she met Elon Musk in May of 2016 at the Met Gala, when Johnny Depp allegedly stood her up. Might have been publicly saying that he, like the other time, he stood her up during her birthday when his mother was dying in the hospital. So, she claims she met Elon in May of 2016, and yet Alejandro Romero, the doorman at the Eastern Columbia building where Johnny Depp lived with Amber Heard during the majority of their Elon marriage. You guys remember him? Let me play a little clip.
The vape guy, I think.
He's pretty forgettable. There's no way to forget him.
Yeah, Alejandro.
You don't recall seeing Amber Heard on May 24th, correct?
I don't remember. I don't even remember what I got for breakfast.
Okay.
I went to the protest at the Eastern Columbia building.
So, the incident was May 21st,
I think he let out the camera and then leans back in.
correct?
Right.
So, do you remember on any daily basis what type of hairstyle she was wearing?
No.
Would you be able to testify to any of those, what she
No.
was wearing, what her makeup was, what her hairstyle was?
No, I probably won't remember.
Total that you interacted with.
For a whole year, I don't got to give you a number.
None of that was on video footage, correct?
That's correct. We don't have cameras in the videos. Sorry, we don't have cameras in the hallway. We don't have cameras in the hallway.
Not only was Amber Heard having an affair during her marriage to Johnny Depp, but she met him way before the day she alleges, May 2016. How do you know this? Because not only do we have evidence, an article of the Daily Mail showed that Elon Musk was a regular visitor to the Eastern Columbia building, but not just that evidence, but we also have Alejandro's testimony. So let's read some of Mr. Alejandro Romero's testimony. So he testified in a written deposition that asked how frequently did Mr. Musk visit the building. He said a few times a week. And you said this was before the incident in May of 2016. And he said that is correct. When asked to indicate how far back their visits began, he indicated that it was as far back as March of 2015, over a year before Amber alleges that she even met him. Not only that, but it went as far as wasn't just visits and friendly dinners or whatever. He also testifies the fact that it went as far as her asked Alejandro to provide a phone for Elon to be able to just come up whenever he needed to. So that's how private they were. So when
Come up and see me sometime. Yeah, well, she's a known liar now, isn't she? So you can't trust anything that comes out of a liar's mouth.
asked about what time this incident took place, Alex Romero said in his
What? Like, I'm bit sus on women always having what on earth would a dude see in someone like that? I know, I do know a lot of guys go a bit doolally over blondes for some reason, like there's some bit of a, like, kind of can't help themselves or something, I don't know, I don't know, I just can't see it myself. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they just, I mean, I guess, I suppose it's happened to me before, when you meet someone and for quite a long time you think they're a certain kind of person, and then longer than, you think you know who they are, and then turns out you don't. So, yeah, maybe, who knows. Humans are really complex, aren't they? And people grow, I think if AH showed the tiniest bit of genuine vulnerability and humiliation, it might be easy to be sympathetic towards her, because there's so obviously a very damaged person in there, and that does that you can feel for somebody who, it's weird, I can't feel for her, but at the same time, there's part of me that, it's like with anybody, you know what I mean, that chooses, any of us can turn into the bad guy, It only takes like a bunch of selfish choices and a bit of some not caring and some, selfishness and whatever. I just said selfishness. But most of us have something in us that recognises this, even if it's not conscious, that we're not the only one on the planet, and it's not good for us to always get our own way all the time, and that's not the thing to aspire to, but then and so many of us that have had really rough starts or terrible upbringings or horrific events in their early lives, who have grown into compassionate and loving and wonderful, caring, gentle, pretty well-rounded people, and have, rather than allowing their terrible pasts to shape them or misshape them, they have been forged by them into something stronger, and so and that is both an incredibly human and incredibly powerful, miraculous, amazing thing. And so when you know that there are so many people out there that can transmute the bad programming of horrible pasts, even as you can empathise with the fact that may have been in that person's past, it's okay to not have sympathy for the person who's chosen to let their past warp them. Yeah. So it's weird. So while I don't wish any ill on Amber Heard, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I felt very satisfied when I knew she wasn't going to get away with, pulling the bullshit she was pulling.
Testimony when you see, he's asking you, see, now you want to meet, talking about, we're talking about around 11 p.m. midnight, here at the end of your shift, that's right. And at those times, Mr. Musk would be granted access at his search request late at night. Would Mr. Musk leave while you were still on your shift? No, was his response. So when you would leave your shift, which ended at 1 a.m., it was your understanding that Mr. Musk was still in the building. And he responds, that is correct.
So you'd stay the night, I guess.
He goes on to say, as I mentioned earlier, there was a gentleman that used to come Question. Do you know who the gentleman was? Answer. Elon Musk. Question. What do you recall about Mr. Musk visiting Miss Heard in the Eastern Columbia building? Answer. Well, she used to call me telling me her friend was coming, and to give him access to the garage and into the building and send him up to the penthouse. And then after probably a couple of visits, Amber provided him with the garage remote and key fob. When you say it wasn't right, can you tell me what you mean by that? Because this guy, I could tell just by looking at him, he is a good man. He is honest, he's decent, and unlike the turd, he knows right from wrong.
I appreciate the sentiment, but you really can't. You can't. You can't tell absolutely whether somebody's a good person just by looking at them. You can get a sense of it. You can believe it. You can feel very sure of it. But we all know that, they're a wolf in sheep's clothing. So be really careful when you find yourself saying things like that. It's just because that's a sign that you're switching off your natural skepticism or your natural awareness and discernment.
Like many of us he goes on to answer. Well, she's a female. He's a male. Both of them by themselves upstairs is, she's married. I don't know Elon Musk personally. I don't know if he's married or not. I don't know anything about his personal life. Can you help us set question? Can you help us set this in time?
He's obviously uncomfortable because it's not proper. It's not. It's there's only apart from work, there's only one reason that a man and a woman wants to go and spend time alone together, and because I didn't realise it was so common, but there is a big school of thought that says that men and women can't be friends.
And a little bit more. You mentioned that Mr. Depp was away from the movie. I think you said in the Caribbean. Answer. I think so, yes. Was it Pirates of the Caribbean? Answer. That's correct. So he goes as far as to correctly admit, I would say admit because he's not admitting to it, but he is able to clarify that Elon Musk would come continually over the course of some months every time that John was away from the movie. So we know that they're apparently getting far for that. And we also know that when he broke up, Elon Musk told a magazine, and I will look up that link to in the description below, that Amber broke his heart. So it's not,
Poor Elon. That's sad, Elon. I feel bad for you. It's fucking shit that dumb bitch broke your heart. It really sucks when you trust someone who, isn't, for real. And, this is interesting. It was very, not that I, have been studying Elon Musk for very long, but, this was very, very open and, kind of vulnerable thing of him to say, which gave me a bit of more dimension. Or gave him a little more dimension to
crazy to speculate that he, rightfully so,
so let's go back because I don't think she read it out, but
over the course of some months, every time that John was away from the movie. So we know that they're apparently getting far for that, and we also know that when he broke up, Elon Musk.
right. I've been in severe emotional pain for the last few weeks, Musk said. Severe. It took every ounce of will to be able to do the Model 3 event and not look like the most depressed guy around. For most of that day, I was morbid. Then I had to psych myself up, drink a couple of Red Bulls, hang out with positive people, and then, tell myself, I have all these people depending on me. Alright, do it. That's actually a bit similar to how I tell myself to get the fuck up and get going. I obviously don't have quite the responsibilities that Elon Musk has.
A magazine, and I will look up that link to in the description below. That Amber has broke his heart. So it's not,
Oh, same.
that he, rightfully so, would have been jealous of Johnny Depp and likely angry.
Musk was decidedly more candid in an interview with author and Rolling Stone writer Neil Strauss, as he said, "I just broke up with my girlfriend. I was really in love, and it hurt bad. Well, she broke up with me more than I broke up with her, I think." And that's, I mean, that's quite simple, but it's quite telling, isn't it? You know, there's, like, well, I don't know, there's kind of a head-scratching kind of, like, what the vibe, like, vibe there.
That she was so obsessed with him, and that even after their breakup, she still wanted to be with him. Even if it was just for the money, because, you know, my own speculation is that she doesn't even really like men. I mean, I know that she's said that she dates.
That is quite possible, because that is, you know, women can be very multi-dimensional with their sexuality and very fluid. In a way, in general, much more than men tend to be. Men's sexuality, in general, tends to be rather more fixed, and women's can be a lot more fluid. I've always found that really fascinating, proposition.
You know, that's fine as well, but I don't believe that she really lives. I think because of her strong narcissistic personality, she that's a typical personality trait characteristic of someone who is narcissistic to be people who basically they base their self-esteem on the status, the caliber of the person that they're dating. So she went from Johnny Depp, who is the most famous and most beautiful man in the world, to Elon Musk, who is not very nice to look at, and probably not the nicest person either, especially with everything that I have figured out about him, but also, you know, not very good looking.
Well, that's subjective. I get what she means. Like, I get, like, you know, I'm not very hetero, but, you know, definitely less odd looking. Now he's had his hair transplant, but, you know, his face is quite symmetrical, and his features are not untidy. You know, I guess, you know, maybe he's an oil painting, but he's certainly not frickin', I don't know, what's the, trying to think of a saying that you use for, what is it, he's certainly no oil painting, I don't know, yeah, that, someone is always going to be attractive to somebody, don't you reckon? Like, even, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a bit idealistic of me. But, I think it would be very difficult for somebody, it is, you know, something I take quite a bit of umbrage with Musk with his, you know, not fathering, having, you know, sproginated bloody 7 children, but not fucking spending enough time to be a father with them. But I think if your time was taken up with focusing on, you know, companies and blah blah blah, and one company in particular, I guess, or 2 companies in particular, it would be very, very difficult to find not only the linear time, but the emotional time of being able to switch off from thinking about the companies to being on, you know, just a one-on-one human, you know, I like you, let's, you know, hang out, cohabit and have babies or whatever, you know. I think that would be so difficult to straddle those 2 realms, and it really doesn't surprise me that that a lot of, you know, high level high level, I guess, CEOs or, corporate movers and shakers are not super, humped up with family life. And, 7 children, that's a lot of kids. You're an absent parent. I'm sorry. You're an absent parent. None of my business, though. I didn't fucking decide to have them.
So, it's not hard to imagine that he would have been miserable.
As in, they decided to have their own kids. I had nothing to do with their decision to have children.
Jealous of Johnny Depp, and not really helped Amber because I believe that she actually saw him a few days after May 21st, between the dates of May 21st and May 27th, when she supposedly filed her supposed TRO, and had those pictures where she had bruising on her face. She had been known to have seen Elon Musk within those days. So it's not either he helped her find this and hit her, allegedly, or I'm also worried, this part is speculation, it's not factual like everything else in this video. There are people who allege that he is into very TSM things, like leaving and things, etc. So either they got rough and she got bruised up during their intimate escapades, and he knows this, or he planned it with her. Either way, it doesn't look good for him as a person. Now that we've gone through all of this, let's get into the ties of Judge Nichol, who was the judge who overlooked the proceedings of the UK Latin trial, and his ties to the son.
When things turn to like other people's personal bedroom antics and stuff, I kind of tune out a little bit because it's not my fucking business, and I don't want to fucking know. You know what I mean? Like, you do you. That's just just a wholly personal thing. Like, so it's just freaking me out, and just don't care what other people do. It's their that's their private fucking business, man. You don't fucking. So yeah.
And why was that Johnny Depp to receive interventions to receive a first trial? And seemingly, Amber had this planned out for years before. I asked myself, if you guys haven't seen my Surviving Narcissist film, it has a clip from another one of the incredibly outrageous video where she talks about having planned this out for years, makeup, pictures, just as Novak asked her in her cross-examination yesterday. You like to take pictures of your husband sleeping? She should find this one of all the pictures she ever took of Johnny Depp sleeping, of all the alleged 14 instances of abuse, she never took a picture of bruises or anything broken. Why? Because they didn't have it. They could none of that. And none.
It really, I'm not saying one way or the other, but just the sense that you get was that it was something that she planned for a really long time. Like, it really does seem off the wall, something from a fucking movie, like, just I don't know how somebody gets that far along, that what I mean, like, without being pulled up, or without, like, that's an incredible feat of only having people around you that keep enabling you. That's like that's just to be able to live that far from reality but still have everyone fucking like going along, like, just nah, man. People are fucking so dangerous, eh? It's so fucking dangerous.
Ever happened. And the ties, the people that she sleeps with, have so much power to help her in instigating this enormous lie fabrication to ruin a man's reputation and
the validation of everyone.
Because she was jealous of Johnny Depp and, how much attention he got and how world-renowned he was, and on top of everything, he's just a beautiful, generous, happy individual. And she wanted people to think the same thing about her, and help at the same time, ruin that for him, because
It's gotta be such a, it's gotta be such a bottomless well to fill though. You know what I mean? Like, to be that ruthless in your need to, achieve these like, and it's kind of that, just that kind of ambition. It's an ambition, not even for anything that fucking great. It's an ambition to be worshipped for no reason. For no reason, just for your existence. Just to not even have the self-awareness to see that having that ambition, let alone having it that strongly, is kind of like not very worthy. You know what I mean? Like, you must know on some level, otherwise you wouldn't try to hide it, yeah? You must know it's fucked up, even if it's subconscious. Well, yeah, you wouldn't try to fucking squirm your way out of shit when you got fucking close to being busted.
that drove her crazy how wonderful happy was, and she wanted to destroy his reputation. And in that process, she has made.
Some people seethe at well-loved people, at popular, like genuinely popular people who make other people feel happy and special, and reflect that back to them. That there are certain people that will just make them seethe. Once again, they might not even be aware of that or connect it with what's actually going on. A lot of us do not know what drives us and what compels us. We don't know the root causes of some of the feelings that we have, or the urges that the kind of impulses that we have.
Nothing but so now that we have covered not only Elon Musk's ties to some newspaper, but
let me read that out. Okay, the litigation. Since the allegations came to light in 2019, Johnny Depp filed lawsuits for defamation against AH in the USA and the Sun's publisher News Group Newspapers Limited, originating in the High Court of Justice in London, with both sets of proceedings from JD citing that the claims are false and defamatory. AH responded to the litigation by countersuing in the USA for $100 million, that's this one just now, alleging years of abuse by JD, described by AH as the monster, quote, in the extensive counterclaim filings. AH appeared as a key witness, see, so even that there's two separate things, okay? Defamation, sued for defamation against AH in the USA and against the Sun's publisher News Group in London. Two different suits, two different things. AH appeared as a key witness during JD's libel defamation trial, alleging key witness, not a defendant, alleging 14 separate incidences of domestic abuse, of which 12 were accepted by the trial judge, Mr. Justice Nicol. The allegations. It was alleged by AH and her supporters that during an alleged tussle on the evening of 21st May 2016, JD had thrown a phone at her face, trashing the kitchen in their penthouse apartment. I think that's the one that they've got the footage. Is it the one they got the footage of? That went to TK Maxx.
possible and
TMZ.
TMZ. Such a program. Let's look at the other side of it. Now, in case you are aware, the judge from the UK libel trial who oversaw the entire process is called Justice Nicol. So, as I was saying, for those of you that are not aware, the original UK libel trial, which was Johnny Depp versus Sun newspaper in the UK, in which he alleged that he was defamed by an article that was printed, I believe, in 2018, in which they showed an altered picture, which we already know the picture in itself was fake, but it was even further altered, of a supposed beat-up Amber Heard on the cover, and then continued by calling Johnny Depp a wife beater, which is essentially what caused the beginning of this whole mess, and also gave the support that she needed, because now there was supposed articles of newspapers that are supposedly reliable that are alleging that these lies that she's saying are true, and basically gave her the impetus and the fuel to continue on her tirade and smear campaign against Johnny Depp, which if you haven't seen in my other video, smear Murdoch is a staple of narcissistic abusers. It's something that they tend to do when they discard their narcissistic supply, which in this case was Johnny Depp. So getting back to the discussion, the investigation that I primarily used in my research is an exclusive investigation, an exclusive 8-part investigation, independent review of the Johnny Depp libel trial by an organization called Intelligence UK International that tends to overlook and review jurisprudence cases and determine whether it is within the scope of the law that it was handled properly or if they were improperly handled. So let's look at Justice Judge Nicol, who was the person who presided over this case. Now, first of all, as we had discussed in this libel trial, John Depp was suing the publisher, Newspapers Ltd, who is essentially the owner of Sun newspaper, for their defamatory allegations of calling him a beer without any thing to back that up, which a legitimate news source is supposed to do. So we clearly see here that it's a tabloid, just as his attorney had said, and rightly said. So in this 8-part investigation, the first part and the next 6 focus primarily on looking at the fresh evidence that was not used during the proceedings. Not only was it not used, but Justice Nicol did not allow its inclusion. He deemed them to be inadmissible, the majority of evidence that proves that all of her allegations are false. And on the other side, which you see disturbed by this, he allowed all of Amber Heard's supposed evidence, including mention of 12 of the 14 supposed assaults that took place during the time, allegedly, according to her things that she had alone, during the course of their marriage, and actually before that, I guess. But what I'm going to focus on is simply the conflict of interest and the bias that makes it so that he should not have ever presided over this case to begin with, by law, not by opinion, but based on the laws of the UK. There is a clear bias, conflict of interest that should have made him, should have precluded his overseeing of the trial. And clearly, there's a reason that he was chosen to oversee.
And that's kind of the main reason why I put this, decided to react to this video, because I found that really interesting. Like, it just is weird that to me, that is a bit of a red flag for, backdoor dealings by vested interests. I mean, you got to understand, the Murdoch empire is worldwide, like just worldwide. Like he has a virtual monopoly on the news in this country, in Australia. Murdoch rags are responsible for some extreme. I don't know. I don't want to go into it because it's huge. It's just huge. He's been around for a long time. Well, not even him. His father, who kind of built the empire from back in the newspaper days, and it's a very long history. The Murdochs have been narrative drivers for generations, basically, and they have such an incredible stranglehold on the world today that it is becoming increasingly difficult to be free of their influence, and to be able to find trustworthy media that's not in lockstep with with their publishing kind of with the Murdoch rave. So, as you would know, as we all know, super uber duper rich people, no hate, whatever, don't care, no, there's no value judgment, we won't talk about them. They live in a different world to us, multi-generational, super duper rich people live pretty much a kind of different set of rules than us. Yeah. I've said that the wrong way. We all put our pants on one leg at a time, okay? And we all go by the same laws of nature and, driven by the same impulses, all that kind of stuff. But completely different landscape, completely different worlds, I guess, adjacent, but now the twain shall meet. And you just live life on a bit of a different scale. The people you hang out with are quite likely to be rock stars or CEOs of companies or famous authors or adventurers or other multi-millionaires or there is a level of separation when you get to that kind of an income, and it's not unknown for that to grow an attitude of make your own rules. So while we're all going on, down here, like thinking about what's right and what's wrong and, how we're going to bloody afford ice cream this month, they're playing out different games, like, oh mate, I've got this girlfriend, she's a pain in the ass, but she's, really wants this and blah blah blah, and she won't leave me alone, and can you please, blah 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 blah, oh yeah, no worries, fucking, like, we just don't fucking know what the heck goes on high up in the sky in those penthouses and executive offices. We just do not. And you cannot rely on everybody to be as honourable as their job position might make out. Like, everybody, humans are humans, okay? Humans, we're all subject to the same flaws. And we can all fall prey to the same, misshapen desires, shall we say.
Child, this wasn't a coincidence, or just happened to him, and she had no conflict of interest, and decided, no, he was chosen for a reason.
Yeah, not a coincidence.
Power had not only a vested interest in this, but they put in roles, allegedly, and
that's the thing though, there's got to be an outcome. There's got to be a reason for it. Why? Could be that Elon was just in love with a girl who ragged at him and fucking nagged at him and daddly. You know what I mean? Could just be that fucking simple. Because I really am, like, I get the conspiracy and everything, but I'm failing to see why, other than AH's, evil desire to destroy another person. What would everybody benefit out of this, out of destroying Johnny Depp? You know what I mean? That's a lot of influence for one little blonde chick. Get me? So this is why I'm not 100% sure about whether this is like for real or not. I get that they've got evidence, and I get that they can back their words up and stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean that how you're interpreting all those connections and that evidence, it doesn't mean that your interpretation of it is necessarily correct. So it's just, it's just weird, man. It's weird.
That's the way corruption works. That's the way our our supposed system works. That's the way
It is, though.
policies
That is
work,
how.
corporations, all of it. Money is what runs the world, and unfortunately, that is the injustice that.
It's not just money, it's connections. Connections. Okay? Money moves the world, but connections run the fucking world. Yeah? There's got to be threads. There's got to be threads that go through. Otherwise, it's just money floating around. Okay? There's got to be channels and threads that direct all of that. And connections.
Ultimately, is the conclusion of all of that corruption when people in power are ones who run the show. So, getting back to the matter at hand, who is Justice Nichols, and why did I mention that ultimate
Shut my door.
corporation that Johnny Depp ended up suing was News Group Newspapers Ltd, as opposed to just Sun. It's not just Sun who owns this, it's this parent holding company, and that's going to be important. Why? So as I said, they go into a very in-depth, 8-part investigation, which if you want to look at it, I'll link in the description below. Again, a shout out to Incredibly Average, great channel that subscribe there too, and check out all his other videos, very in-depth, very factual, concise, and brilliant in my opinion. So as I said,
I mean, they're really good videos.
Details of what much of what we've gone over in this trial, and a lot of that's also been included in those videos that I just mentioned. So unlike a lot of people who have been incredibly surprised during the duration of the trial and all the evidence, not just witnesses, but all the evidence that has come to light, I knew a lot of those things because of these videos. But these things that I'm talking about right now are new. No one has video connections, and so that's why I stayed up all night to do this research and put this together and edit it, and I'm just the worst editor in the world. So if anybody wants to help me with that, please reach out to me at therealstreetbloodrops@gmail.com. More than happy to like help you if you would so like please in order to, and if you would like to please send me a donation via my cash app, which is also going to be below. I really need it, but not just that, it's going to allow me to be, and I know that it does. But sometimes it's good to have a little bit of time frame in mind.
Sorry, I'm just going to keep getting to the story.
Content, which I have so much of. I just, so much information, so little time, so much editing, and I said. So anyway, let's get back to that. Sorry about my tangent. But as I said, just so I'll shut up. Just hit the subscribe button below, please. Thank you. So, as I was saying, without getting into all the evidence that this Justice Nichols concluded was inadmissible. So in the first article that they published, they alluded to potential links between Nicole J, because that's what they call his name, the publisher, and people connected to Ember. So there is much broader connections, which I will let's look at. And if you want, go ahead and download that, screenshot it.
Whoa, what the heck is that? Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay, this just looks pretty out there. My glasses. Holy shit. Okay. Alright, where are we? Fights. Lawyer 4. Oh, this is everywhere. Posted. Where do you start? Okay, Talk Radio. Owned by Wireless Group, News Corp, Murdoch, The Sun. Published. Something. Dan Woodston wrote. Session Elizabeth wrote. No. Guest appearance. Amber Heard. Jim Johnson. Private dinner party. Okay, guest. Employee and mentor of Jen Robinson. Okay, well, this would require book about media law. Okay. Whew. Okay, that's a lot of stuff that it's gonna take a little bit to... Oh, Kathy Lett. Isn't that the chick? Isn't Kathy Lett the chick that wrote Puberty Blues? Then we can chat across a crowded ward. That must be a joke. I don't know what all that writing is on. Robert Palmer, Judge Andrew Nichol. Don't see Mr. Musk here though. Look at Murdoch. I hate it when there's like, graphs and infographics, but they're not labelled. It doesn't tell you exactly what they are and what they're supposed to be showing you. Like, that's great, there's all these connections, but who are even all these people?
Take a look at it more in detail and more in depth to see all of the potential links to Amber Heard directly. But in this video, we're going to talk about his links to the Sun and Elon Musk.
Nearly finished. Get it on with it.
What they found in their investigation is that Justice Nichols and his wife have a very close and personal relationship with the Murdoch family.
Okay, in our first article we alluded to potential links between Nicol J, the publisher, and those connected to AH. We found that Nicol J, as in Justice Nicol, and his wife have a personal relationship with the Murdoch family, who own the tabloid. The judge's son, Robert Palmer, works for Talk Radio, a sister company of the Sun, owned by Rupert Murdoch.
In case you forgot what I had mentioned earlier, the Murdoch family ultimately owned the tabloid newspaper, The Sun. And it goes much further than that. Additionally, the judge's son, Robert Palmer, works for a company called Talk Radio, who is a sister company and essentially also part of The Sun. So ultimately, his son works for The Sun. Could there be a bigger conflict of interest? If there is, I haven't seen one. But it goes deeper than that. So in February of 1982, it was still Barrister, which is when he became lawyer. Andrew Nicol, the judge, wrote.
We found an article. This continues on. We found an article written by Andrew Nicol from February 1982 when he was writing press articles as a practicing barrister. After being exposed by Johnny Depp fans, Robert Palmer deleted the information relating to his post at Talk Radio from his Twitter account, seeking to conceal links to the mainstream. Continues off the page.
About his son and how he
That's interesting,
works
isn't
for,
it?
to radio. So, Robert Palmer apparently had written information relating to this post on his Twitter account. And after John...
So after being exposed by fans on blood, Palmer deleted the information relating to his post at Talk Radio from his Twitter account. That's a terribly written, badly written sentence. Seeking to conceal links to the mainstream media magnate Murdoch and News Corp, the ultimate beneficial owner of both Talk Radio and News Group Newspapers Limited. It was Dan Wooten of The Sun, also a host of Talk Radio's Drive Time show and a close associate of Robert Palmer, who wrote the defamatory article to start with. Oh, okay, so he is the writer of Amber Heard's article. Gotcha. Conclusion. We conclude that there is no evidence of any injury to Amber Heard, and our conclusion is consistent with that of the LAPD officer's report at the scene, as well as the testimony from Mr. Baruch. It goes on.
Johnny Depp fans, awesome. Johnny Depp fans, you can see that his fans are awesome because he's awesome. Exposed him. Then he quickly deleted the post. Because
Not
clearly
evidence.
he is trying to conceal the link between the
They're
two.
awesome because he's awesome. Not evidence. Okay. Good work. Really good work.
Media magnet,
Well done.
Murdoch and News Corp, who is the ultimate beneficial owner of both Talk Radio as well as News Group Newspapers Ltd, which, if you remember, is the parent company that owns The Sun. So this parent company owns everything, both Talk Radio and The Sun. And let me explain it again in case it was confusing when I explained it the first time. Ultimately, Judge Nicol, who presided over this libel case, his son works for The Sun. And then to go a step further, Dan Wooten of The Sun, who wrote the article, is a host of Talk Radio's Drive Time show and a very close friend and associate of Robert Palmer, Justice Nichols' son. So, yeah, if there is a bigger conflict of interest, if there ever was, I don't know what it is, but it's pretty clear in this case. So, in conclusion, I would like to read a little bit about the law in the UK, because this might be over, but Johnny Depp has implying that he can potentially do something about it, because not
back. I was waiting to read this out. Okay.
Australia case, which I have another video coming up about that, so.
Okay. So, under section 3.1 parentheses 7 of the Civil Procedure Rules, the court has the power to vary, revoke, or set aside an order if it's in the interest of justice to do so. In this case, it is our view that Depp was In this case, it is our view that Johnny Depp was ill-afforded the right to a fair trial on 2 grounds. Firstly, that fresh evidence is worthy of trial that completely undermines the case being advanced by the opposition, but secondly, because there is a violation of both principles of natural justice. That's it. The principles of natural justice is a big thing in British or in Westminster system, which is Britain, Canada, Australia, South Africa, I think, and New Zealand. As alluded to in our first article, the decision is void, no matter how fair it may seem at first instance, if any decision is made by any known bias that may have affected judicial impartiality. In other words, if the judge has got friends, family, etc., that are in jobs that may or may not, make them connected or sensitive to coercion and bias, all kinds of things, right? Too close. In this case, that perceived bias is most certainly too close for comfort. In the multitude of cases we investigated, we have found that judicial impropriety in the UK is widespread. Political interference is a major issue, and that the judges have been working to support the corporations, politicians, and their affiliates. Is Johnny Depp another victim of the controlled third-party influenced judiciary? We have reason to believe so. It's not unreasonable to assume that those claims do have some merit. Okay, knowing the way that the UK justice system is not set up, but the way that it is put into action. Like many of the institutions in the Western world at the moment, many of them based on excellent things, did solve a heaps of problems, but because of their corruption and just their corruptibility, in their nepotism and their lack of transparency, now are no longer serving society in the good role that they should be. Need to be updated. Another story for another time. Let's go.
Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and bell so you get notified of all this awesome content that's coming your way, exclusive. But
Do what she said.
so not only should she be put away for perjury, as I said, not just in Israeli case, but all the numerous times that she's perjured herself in this case, which I'm also working on compiling a case of the evidence of her lying next to not only her contradicting herself with previous depositions, but with just factual evidence showing the lies that she perjured herself with. As Austin from Nova says, Johnny Depp's lawyer reminded her she is under oath and would lie under oath is perjury and should be in jail and she should be in jail because that's where criminal accusers belong. But if the statute of limitations is coming on, then she needs to be let for other reasons. Anyway.
I don't agree with that. I don't, number one, I'm not sure that jail is the best place for a lot of people. I think taking people away from society is not something we should do lightly. I'm not quick to go throw people in jail, okay? For people who are obviously a danger to society, there is little else that we can do with them other than remove them from society, so I do accept that. But yeah, I've never been really, she should be, she's not put in jail for that, they should find something to put them in jail, I don't think that that is fair or smart, and I would hate that attitude to be prevalent. You know, that is not, justice is a really complex, multifaceted beast. It really is. It's not as easy as it seems at first glance. Guilty and innocent are not necessarily black and white things, and the law has to. That's the reason why law is so dry and legalese is such a thing, is because we have to be so incredibly specific, not only to the actions and stuff, but also to the spirit. And I think good lawyers, good lawmakers, understand that we can never really truly encapsulate the human condition in our laws. They are really a poor substitute for our lived experience, but they are the best we have, and that is really why it behooves us to make the best laws we possibly can for the best reasons, not make bad laws as much as we can, and to uphold our justice system with the least amount of corruption or messing possible, and to take it seriously and give it respect that it should be worthy of. It should be an elevated institution in our society. It really should. Alright, well, I don't think this lady doesn't have all that much more to say after this. And she does have, like I said, she's got a couple of other videos that do update, and I'm going to go to her channel and just have a quick check it out. That do give you, have a bit more on them. So what have we got? Amber Heard, past verdict, independence, blah blah blah, perjury charge. So yeah, that's the updated one on the current or just been trial. So she's got a whole bunch of really interesting kind of rabbit hole-y kind of content, but also this other channel. Yeah, so this is a really cool little channel too. Like, it's just good research, interesting theories, like just very good research. Just everything's backed up, everything's got there's really very good presentation style. It's really interesting. You may have seen clips you'll recognise. We'll throw something up just as a quick example. Just throw one up as an example so you can see the style. So yeah, you might have seen this blue and orange kind of box style and stuff, like lots of other channels I think have used clips from some of these videos, but yeah, incredibly average, so they're worth checking out as well. And that's about it. Here we're going to go back to me. Shmee! Alright, Shmee. Alright. Thank you. Take that back too. Awesome. Okay. Clonk, and we go. And we stop. Alright, so I started really late. I almost didn't do it. It's taken me a couple of days to sort this out. Okay, so yeah, it is rather late. I'm probably going to wrap it up here. Because really, I just needed to get this happening. I just needed to, you know what I mean? I've got all these reacts that I want to do and stuff, and I keep fucking having anxiety attacks and blah 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 blah. So I was like, fuck it, I don't care how late it is, I'm gonna do this. So I don't care if it's outside of the world and everyone's asleep or whatever, and I stream to nobody, I don't care. I'm just still gonna do it. So yeah, but I'm going to have a look at some of this incredibly average person's stuff and just see if there's anything worth reacting to on that. There's just so many videos, I don't want to just pick one and then have it end up being kind of something that's not boring, but just not, that's something that's in between rather than something that's really pertinent. And what was the other thing? There is, I also am in the process of just getting the playlist together to do a react on Matt Walsh's film, What Is a Woman, that's just come out, because that looks really interesting. Also the response to that looks really interesting. And so yeah, I'm going to check that out. And what else? Can't remember. There was something else. There's something else to do with something that this trial thing had brought up. Or was it something to do with... Yeah. Strangely not like that, I thought this would have more about Elon Musk in it. That's kind of what I was like, oh, this is interesting. What's the connection there? So yeah, it didn't have as much of the connection as but I do think it's really, that to me is really, you know, like, is it possible that he is, you know, I hesitate to say a victim of hers as well, but you know, has she got something over him or something like that? I don't know, it's just weird. Who's paying these ladies legal fees, huh? Anyway, catch up. Catch up with our book reading stream on some of my other videos. At the moment we're reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's really interesting. It's particularly kind of pertinent, the weird how the way he's talking about technology and how it is affecting our sense of connection and our sense of quality and meaning in life. And it's just an interestingly written book. It's been many years since I've read it, so we're going through that one again. And we're just over halfway through, so tune in to the lives to, you know, have my lovely dulcet tones reading to you anytime you like, or go back and catch the replays in the playlists or some of the other books that we've read. If you're a creator or an artist or a musician, drop your name in the comments and let me know so I can go and check your channel or your social medias out. And if you are like me and sometimes struggle to find reasons to keep breathing, so my hands don't really push me pick things up. Number one, just hey, it's okay to be in that state, alright? It's just the way you fucking get sometimes. But before you get up and go and do something that you can't take back, if you would please, I ask you very nicely, just scroll down my description box and pick one of the numbers there, punch it into your phone and hit the go button, and just let yourself, you know, put yourself in the arms of somebody else for a little while who gives a shit and, you know, wants you to stay and hang around, and you can decide if you want to do something later on after that, okay? We need you here, I need you here, the world needs you here. You might not fucking think you matter, but you really, really do. You are far, far, far more amazing and resilient than you could ever imagine, alright? So you must keep breathing, you must hold fast, alright? Okay, there are other numbers too. If you are stuck in a intimate partner situation that you are not feeling safe or comfortable with, there are also numbers down the bottom just quietly that you can scroll down and check out as well. So, alright, I love you heaps, rat bags. Take care, see you flip side. I'll be back probably tomorrow night. We'll do some more reading. And I'll queue up the next set of React videos to check out. Alright, thanks for joining me. I'll catch you in the replay if that's what you're doing. Love you heaps, and I will see you next time. Right. Okay, can I do this? Alright. Yes, I can. And so can you. Alright? We got this. See ya.